When I'm not losing my mind over the Winter Olympics, I like to answer questions I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. No sabes, nada sobre el blues, amigo. Which roughly translates to, you do not know anything about the blues, my friend. Starting it off right with this week's installment of Salty El Blues Comment of the Week, and it's just nice to know that there's salt in every different language. Actually, this isn't faking mad piano skill, it's entry-level genuine piano skill. Anyone who considers you a genius after you play using this technique is a fool anyway. Also, if faking takes up some amount of skill and thinking, it's not really faking, it's just playing at a very poor level. We always knew it would come to this ever since the piano videos came, and we finally have our first salty elitist piano comment of the week. Nice drummer joke. You could tell your girlfriend if she wasn't so busy working to pay for your stuff. Hey, maybe she could buy you a good sense of humor before she leaves you for a real man, like a drummer. Hold on a second. Salty guitar, piano, drums. Rickenbacker, a fool's bass. Absolute rubbish. And there you have it. Finally, I completed an entire band's worth of salty blues comments. Guitar, bass, piano, drums. This is a new high for me, and I'm definitely glad at the direction this channel is going. You should do Elliott Smith month. There are too many great songs, and we should all learn. So if somehow you haven't noticed, I uploaded like 100 Elliott Smith videos this last week as tribute. I don't really want to like just beat people over the head with it because I know it's not for everybody, and that's cool. I just wanted to pay homage to the man who had an incredible amount of influence on my own playing and life. But I do think I will kind of just sneak some, I'll pepper some Elliott Smith videos in the rest of the month, but it will be kind of like regular programming as usual starting this week. Question: some of my friends hear a song and straight up say the key of the song without even mapping it out on any instrument like a keyboard or a guitar. They say that you'll eventually feel it someday. I've been playing for a year now, and I can't even recognize the C major chord if someone strums on a guitar. So, do you personally have such a perception in recognizing key and chords of a song, or use theory, instruments, and chord charts to get it? Great question, and this is something that I've kind of been more thoughtful about over the last year. I never really took a lot of time to like listen and be like, oh, this is like the key of B flat or something like that. But from playing for, 15 plus years now, it's one of those things like if I'm listening to a song and I just start playing along with it, my hand just kind of goes to the minor pentatonic position of the key I'm in without me really even realizing it. So once I started doing that, I was like, wow, maybe my ear is actually better than I consciously realize. And since then, I have been actually kind of making a little bit more of an effort to try to listen to and hear stuff, but it's not something that I'm like good at by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of friends of mine have like perfect pitch almost, or even not perfect pitch, but they can like listen to a piece of music and be like, oh, this is the key of G. I can kind of do that with like certain keys, but I'm by no means like an expert level of that. And I don't even necessarily think that is an incredibly important tool to be able to do as a musician. Super helpful, very impressive. But I really think most situations you're gonna be in where you need that kind of information, you will have your instrument around as kind of like a reference point, which that's almost kind of like the best way to do it. Like, okay, you're playing along with the song, and then maybe you can kind of track root notes along with what you're hearing, and then maybe you put like a couple shapes to try to figure out which one it is. That's how I always kind of got by, figuring out the keys of songs maybe I was unfamiliar with beforehand. But definitely ear training is an incredibly valuable skill that is only a positive, but it's something that you really kind of have to be thoughtful about and train yourself to do. So I know that is kind of a goal of mine to get better at that, but it is something that, like I said, it kind of subconsciously takes over, and your ears are probably better than you even think. Hey, Sean popped up with another question. Can you explain about chord quality? I mean, the very idea behind altered chords are altering notes, 5th, 9th, 11th, 13th, without changing the chord quality, whereas altering the third will affect the chord quality. What is this chord quality? How to find out whether it's changing or not? So chord quality generally means like if a chord is major or minor. Sometimes you'll say like what class is a chord in, major or minor, because on a guitar, we're limited to 6 strings, and a lot of times we can't play all the notes in a chord, especially when it gets to like the higher chords, like a major 9 chord or a minor 11 chord, something like that. So we have to start kind of sacrificing different notes that are omitting them from the chord. So that's where chord quality is important. Like let's say, let's take this chord right here, which is like the 7th fret on the A string, the 6th fret on the D string, and the 8th fret on the G string. So I have a root note, it's major third, and it's major seventh. So this would be like an E major 7, even though I don't have the 5 in it, okay? I could just leave that third out. Once I change that third, if I make that minor, that changes the quality of the chord. So as far as these chords are stacked, being built, the chord quality comes from if it has a major or minor third. A lot of the times, we'll leave the 5th out, and it's cool because you kind of still get the gist of what that major 9, minor 11, major 13 kind of thing is saying. So it's all about finding what we perceive to be the most important parts of the chord. And that's almost always on a guitar, especially when you're just playing like solo guitar outside of the context of a band. Playing the root note, it's third, whether it's major or minor, and then what you're looking to add on top of that. If you're going for a major 7 thing, a major 9 thing, an add 9 thing, then you'd leave the 7 out and just add the 9, 11, all that kind of stuff. You know, it matters when you're playing in a solo guitar atmosphere. Now, if you're playing in a bigger band, it's even more useful to know because maybe you don't even need the root note. Maybe a bass player can play the root note and you can just play the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. And then together you're combining to make like a major 7 chord or whatever you're going for. So altering chords is something that can be very confusing on a guitar because it's like, okay, well, what is this chord that I'm playing? I recognize these 3 notes, but maybe you don't instantly see it as an add 9 or that's like the 13th of a root, stuff like that. But it's just one thing that, you know, it'll become a little better as your ear improves, just like we talked about before. It's like, okay, in this setting, I'm hearing that melody on top, so that's definitely a major 7 chord, even though it might be missing a root note or something like that. But yeah, chord building, again, is something I harp on all the time. The more you know about it, the easier it becomes to see the fretboard, and the easier it becomes just to be a boss on guitar. Thanks for answering my question. Here's another for my insatiable answer appetite. What are your thoughts on doubling up distortion pedals to get richer tones? I actually did this in one of the rock vlogs with the Earthquaker Devices Palisades and the Keeley Monterey, which I thought was really fantastic. But I do think people get a little out of control. I think when it comes down to just using, you can get pretty good sounds out of like a good amp, good playing, good tone from your hands, and a distortion pedal. So it's really about finding the right distortion pedal, but you can really get cool combinations with different distortion pedals, different effects pedals in general, or a distortion pedal running into your amp's natural distortion depending on your amp, stuff like that. So I purposefully try not to get too crazy for it because, again, that is the ultimate rabbit's hole of starting to like link and combo different distortions in the chain. But it's something that I have gotten good results from in the past, but I try not to use it as a crutch for just trying to get a good sound out of the pedals of maybe one pedal that I do have. When I'm not writing serious appreciation comments on Sean Daniels' videos, so nice, I'm thinking, do engineers make better musicians or musicians make better engineers? Any thoughts on that one? Great question, because I think these two are almost completely non-related on a lot of different levels. As far as like being a musician and using kind of like your artistry and proficiency to maybe write something, and then the actual engineering aspect of it, of tracking it, recording it, getting it to mix well. You'd think they're maybe more related than they are, but in my experience, it has been kind of like a struggle to really wear both hats and to kind of seamlessly be able to like, and quickly switch from one job to the other. So, you know, if you're like me and you kind of are forced into doing both, I personally think maybe it's a little bit easier coming from the musician standpoint and going to the engineer standpoint, because you do have a little bit of a background. There are some similarities that kind of carry over, and you can kind of see the audio, and even though you're supposed to be using your ears more as an engineer, using your ears is something that you should be doing as a musician in general. So not to say that the opposite isn't important too, but I think that like some of the best engineers in the world kind of approach it with more of like a mechanical engineering type thing. And again, you know, this is just, I'm just kind of talking here. It's not like you can't do both. It's not like there aren't incredible examples of excellent musicians becoming great engineers, excellent engineers that are also great musicians. But I think maybe coming from a music standpoint and then getting into the recording thing might be a little bit easier than the opposite. Hey Sean, I love playing my guitar, but I'm not very good at it. So many great players on YouTube that my ego suffers sometimes. Would watch lesser players than myself, but they all suck even more than I do. What to do? What you gotta do, man, is you gotta check your ego at the door. Something that my mantra that I shout at myself every morning I wake up is that somewhere out there is a 7-year-old Asian prodigy that is way better than I will ever be at guitar or anything in life. And knowing that has helped me really not have an ego about my own musicianship. And you can learn something from any other musician, even if they're way worse than you, way better than you. It's all about just checking your ego, knowing that anybody can get good at guitar if you just put the work in. It's really just, putting the hours in and being focused and dedicated to your craft, knowing what your goals are, and setting kind of like, smaller achievable goals that you can kind of cross to not maybe get discouraged and getting whatever your ultimate goal is. So yeah, I've definitely seen players that are like so much better than me, and I'm not even tripping, because it's just like my hat's off to them because they put that work in. They kind of are actualizing what they want from the instrument, and I feel like I've done it in the same way. I'm happy with where my playing's at. Could be better, could be worse. It's all about just making music, having a good time. So for listening homework, we are going to the solo project of Cory Wong, the guitar player for my band Vulfpeck. Vulfpeck. I always say that wrong. It's hard to say, whatever. But he's got a really, if you dig a funky strat tone, this is the guy for you. So check this song out. Let me know what you think. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, the website. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.